Guy retires at 67 with $1.2 million in his 401k, spent 40 years maxing out contributions, lives in a paid off house, has Social Security coming in. On paper, he's crushing it. But here's what actually happens he budgets himself $800 a month for discretionary spending. That's less than what he spent when he was working. His daughter invites him on a trip to Italy. He says no, too expensive. His dishwasher breaks. He hand washes dishes for 6 months rather than buy a new one. Dies at 83 with $1.1 million still in the account. His kids inherit money he was literally afraid to spend on a dishwasher. Here's another one. Woman retires with $700,000 saved. Financial advisor runs the numbers, tells her she can safely withdraw $35,000 a year on top of Social Security. That's $60,000 total annual income, more than she needs. She withdraws $18,000 the first year, then $15,000 the second year. By year 3, she's taking out $12,000 and feeling guilty about it. She's living on Social Security alone and watching her portfolio grow. At 79, she's still got $640,000 and she's skipping doctor's appointments to save the copay. These aren't edge cases. This is the dominant behavior pattern among American retirees. The Federal Reserve did a study in 2024 tracking actual withdrawal rates from retirement accounts. Want to know what they found? The median retiree with over $500,000 in retirement savings withdraws less than 2% annually, not 4%, which is the traditional safe withdrawal rate, not even 3%, 2%. They're living on a budget that assumes they have half the money they actually have. So here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to ask. If the point of saving for retirement is to fund your retirement, why are retirees systematically refusing to fund their retirement? I'm going to explain exactly why this happens, the specific psychological machinery that makes spending your own money feel like a threat, and why this is getting worse, not better. Because understanding this isn't just about retirees. If you're in your 30s or 40s and saving for retirement, you need to understand that your brain is already being wired right now to make this exact same mistake 30 years from now. By the way, I built a free early retirement calculator because most online ones are mathematically wrong. It uses BlackRock and Vanguard logic to expose the weak points in your plan, and I only ask for your email to send the report so I don't store any of your financial data. Link in the description. Let me give you a framework for understanding this. Think of your relationship with money like a light switch that's been stuck in one position your entire adult life. For 40 years, that switch has been set to accumulate. Every financial decision you make gets filtered through a single question. Does this increase the number or decrease the number? You get a work bonus, the number goes up, dopamine hit. You buy something, the number goes down, mild anxiety. This isn't conscious. This is your operating system. You check your 401k balance, it's gone from 300,000 to 320,000. Your brain codes this as winning. The number went up without you doing anything. It's like watching a garden grow. Then one month it drops from 320,000 to 305,000 because the market had a bad week. Your stomach tightens, something is wrong. The number went down. Threat detected. Now imagine you've been conditioned like this for 4 decades. The number going up equals safety, competence, success. The number going down equals danger, failure, loss. Then someone tells you it's time to retire and start withdrawing money, intentionally making the number go down every month for the rest of your life. You're asking your brain to interpret as correct behavior, the exact thing it's been trained to identify as a threat for 40 years. This is like asking someone who's been a professional climber their entire life to suddenly be comfortable with falling. The skill you spent your whole life building is now the skill you have to unlearn. Here's where it gets really interesting. Loss aversion, which is the technical term for this, isn't a 1-to-1 ratio. The pain of losing feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize for documenting this. If I hand you $50, you get a small happiness boost. If I take away $50, you feel a disproportionately larger sense of loss. It's not balanced. Your brain has an asymmetric response. Now apply that to retirement withdrawals. You've got $800,000 in your IRA. You withdraw $3,000 to pay for a vacation. Rationally, you still have $797,000. You're fine. But your brain doesn't process it rationally. It processes the $3,000 withdrawal as a loss. And that loss stings twice as hard as the pleasure from the vacation. Net emotional result. You feel worse after the vacation than before, even though you enjoyed it, because the number went down. So retirees develop a coping mechanism. They'll spend investment, income, dividends, and interest because those feel like new money. But they won't touch the principal. The principal is sacred. It's the number that must not shrink. I've reviewed hundreds of retirement accounts through my network, and this pattern is everywhere. People living on 2% yields from bond funds while sitting on seven-figure portfolios they refuse to draw down. It's not a cash flow problem, it's an identity problem. But now you might be thinking, okay, this is just people being conservative, better safe than sorry, right? They lived through 2008, maybe 2001. They remember market crashes. They're just being prudent. Except here's the problem. This isn't prudence. Prudence would be running the math, determining a safe withdrawal rate, and living accordingly. What's actually happening is something closer to financial paralysis dressed up as caution. And we can prove this by looking at what happens when you remove the ambiguity. There's a financial product called a single premium immediate annuity. You give an insurance company a lump sum, let's say $250,000, and they send you a guaranteed monthly check for the rest of your life. The amount is fixed, the check never stops coming, and when you die, the insurance company keeps whatever's left. It's pure income conversion. You trade a pile of money for a lifetime income stream. Now, if retirees were genuinely worried about longevity risk and running out of money, they should love these products. You're literally buying insurance against outliving your money. But annuity adoption rates among retirees are shockingly low. Less than 15% of retirees use any form of immediate annuity, despite financial planners recommending them for decades. Why? Because buying an annuity means watching a big number disappear from your account. That $250,000 is gone. Yes, it's been converted into income, but the pile vanished. And even though the income stream is worth more in present value terms than slowly drawing down the portfolio yourself, the emotional loss of seeing that balance hit zero is too painful. The number going down is still coded as danger, even when the math says you're better off. And here's the kicker. When researchers survey retirees who refuse to buy annuities, the most common objection isn't about returns or flexibility, it's about inheritance. They say they want to leave money to their kids. But when you track actual behavior, these same retirees are also underspending from their portfolios and leaving way more to their kids than they ever intended. It's a rationalization. The real driver is that they can't emotionally tolerate watching the number disappear. Let me tell you about a couple I know through my business network. Retired in 2018. He was an engineer, she was a teacher. Combined retirement savings of $1.4 million. Their financial advisor calculated they could safely withdraw $60,000 a year, indexed to inflation, and still have a 95% probability of not running out of money, even if they both live to 95. First year of retirement, they withdraw $42,000. Advisor asks why they're under withdrawing. They say they want to be careful. Second year, they withdraw $38,000. Third year, $34,000. By 2023, they're withdrawing $29,000 a year, and their portfolio is now worth $1.6 million because the market went up. They've actually increased their net worth in retirement while systematically depriving themselves of the lifestyle they saved for. The woman needed dental work, not cosmetic, actual dental work that would improve her quality of life. Cost was $11,000. She delayed it for 2 years. Not because they didn't have $11,000, they had $1.6 million, but taking $11,000 out felt like raiding the reserves. When she finally got the work done, she told her advisor she felt guilty about it for months afterward. Meanwhile, their kids, who are in their 40s and financially stable, are going to inherit $1.8 to $2 million they never asked for and don't particularly need. This couple is sacrificing their health and happiness to leave a windfall to people who'd rather they spend it on themselves. This is what I mean when I say the problem isn't math, it's psychology. Their advisor had given them permission. The spreadsheet said they were safe. But the spreadsheet can't override 40 years of accumulated behavior patterns. And here's where this gets even more twisted. The people who are best at saving, the ones who maxed out their 401ks every year, who lived below their means, who made all the right financial decisions, they're the ones most likely to underspend in retirement. Because the personality traits that make you a great saver, discipline, delayed gratification, risk aversion, those same traits make you a terrible spender. It's like training someone to hold their breath underwater for 4 decades and then expecting them to suddenly feel comfortable breathing freely. The skill became part of their identity. Frugality isn't something they do, it's something they are. And you're asking them to betray their identity. Now, to be fair, some of this fear is rational. Healthcare costs in America are legitimately terrifying. A couple retiring today at 65 can expect to spend $300,000 on healthcare over their retirement, not including long-term care. If you need a nursing home, that's another $100,000 a year in many states. These are real numbers. I'm not dismissing them, but here's what's happening. Retirees are using worst case healthcare scenarios to justify underspending on everything else. They're living like they're going to need long term care starting tomorrow, even though the median age for entering a nursing home is 84 and the average stay is less than 2 years. They're optimizing for a tail risk and sacrificing 20 years of life quality in the process. Let me give you the cruel irony. The years from 65 to 75, those are your go go years. You're healthy enough to travel, active enough to enjoy experiences, young enough that your friends are still around. This is peak retirement. By 75 to 80, you're in slow go years. You're still doing things, but less frequently, less intensely. After 80, for most people, you're in no go years. You're alive, but you're not traveling to Italy. You're not hiking national parks. Your spending naturally declines because you physically can't do the things you could do at 68. So, what do most retirees do? They hoard money during the go go years when spending would bring them the most joy, and they end up with a giant pile of money during the no go years when they can't use it. It's optimizing for the wrong part of the curve. And nobody tells you this because the financial industry makes more money managing your assets than helping you spend them down. Your financial advisor gets paid a percentage of assets under management. If you've got $1 million and they charge 1%, that's $10,000 a year in fees. If you spend down to 500,000, their fee drops to 5,000. They have a direct financial incentive for you to keep your balance high. They'll never say this out loud. They'll frame it as being conservative, prudent, safe. But the incentive structure is clear. They get paid more when you spend less. The brokerage firms, the asset managers, they're all optimizing for accumulation because that's where the fee revenue is. Nobody's building tools to help you decumulate efficiently because there's no business model in helping you shrink your account balance. The entire industry is built around making the number go up. And then you hit retirement, and suddenly you're supposed to figure out how to make the number go down in a system that has spent 50 years conditioning you to do the opposite. Here's a little dialogue I imagine happens in these retirees' heads. The responsible saver voice says, "You spent 40 years saving this money. You can't just blow it on frivolous things." And the other voice says, "But we saved it to use it. That was the whole point." And the saver voice responds, "Yes, but what if there's an emergency? What if the market crashes? What if we live to 95? And the other voice gets quieter each time until eventually it stops arguing. Or picture this: retiree at a restaurant, looking at the menu, sees something they really want, it's $38. Thinks about how many times they could eat at home for $38. Orders the $22 option they don't really want, saves $16, goes home and checks their account balance, $734,000. The $16 didn't matter, but the habit is so deeply ingrained that they can't stop calculating. Now, I need to give you three specific frameworks to break this pattern, because if you don't deliberately interrupt this psychology, it will dominate your retirement by default. Framework one: build a consumption baseline. This is your bare minimum lifestyle, your fixed cost, plus a small discretionary buffer. For most people, this should be fully covered by Social Security and any pension income. The psychological power of this is enormous. When your baseline lifestyle is funded by guaranteed income sources that never run out, your portfolio stops feeling like your lifeline and starts feeling like your freedom fund. You're not withdrawing from savings to survive, you're withdrawing from savings to live. That mental reframe changes everything. If you retire and Social Security is paying you $36,000 a year and you need $45,000 to cover your baseline, you've got a problem. You're in a permanent state of portfolio dependence. But if Social Security covers $45,000 and you need $45,000, now everything above that is pure optionality. You're not spending your nest egg, you're spending your fund money. Same dollar amount withdrawn, completely different emotional experience. Framework two: use mental accounting buckets. This is directly from behavioral economics. Your brain treats money differently depending on how it's categorized. Money in a checking account feels spendable. Money in a retirement account feels sacred. Same dollars, different mental bucket, different emotional response. So create explicit buckets. Take your total retirement savings and divide it into three accounts, even if it's just a mental exercise. Bucket one is your longevity insurance. This is 20 to 25% of your total portfolio. This money is untouchable until you're 85. It's there to fund your final decade if you live that long. Bucket two is your lifestyle fund. This is 50 to 60% of your portfolio. This is what you're going to systematically draw down over the next 15 to 20 years to fund your actual retirement. Bucket three is your fund money. This is 15 to 20%. This is for the big trips, the discretionary spending, the things you've always wanted to do. The psychological trick is that spending from bucket three doesn't feel like you're raiding your retirement. It feels like you're using money that was explicitly allocated for this purpose. You've given yourself permission in advance. The guilt evaporates because the mental accounting matches the behavior. Framework 3, calculate your implied hourly rate in retirement. This is the one that really reframes things. Take your total retirement savings and divide it by the number of hours you work to accumulate it. Let's say you saved $1 million over 40 years, working 2,000 hours a year. That's 80,000 hours of work. Your retirement savings represents $12.50 per hour of your life energy. Now, when you're deciding whether to spend $300 on something, you're not just spending $300, you're spending 24 hours of your work life. That's one full workday. Is the thing you're buying worth one day of your life? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But at least you're making the trade consciously. And here's the flip side. Every dollar you don't spend in retirement is a dollar you worked for that generated zero life value for you. You traded hours of your life to earn that money, and then you let it sit unused until you died. That's not prudence. That's waste. You essentially worked for free. Let me bring this back to where we started. That guy with $1.2 million who died with $1.1 million still in the account. He didn't fail at retirement because he ran out of money. He failed because he forgot that money is a tool, not a score. The number in your account isn't your net worth, it's your option value. An option value that's never exercised is worthless. The financial industry has spent 50 years teaching you that your retirement account balance is the measure of your success. Higher number equals winning. But that's only true during accumulation. Once you're in decumulation, the scorecard flips. The winner isn't the person who dies with the most money. The winner is the person who extracts the most life satisfaction per dollar saved while maintaining a reasonable safety margin. And look, I get it. The people watching this, you're in your 30s, 40s, maybe early 50s, you're not retired, you're still in accumulation mode. But you need to understand that the mental patterns you're building right now are setting you up for this exact problem in 30 years. Every time you feel that little hit of satisfaction from watching your 401k balance increase, you're reinforcing the neural pathway that will make it painful to withdraw later. You're literally training your future self to hoard. So start practicing now. Not reckless spending, intentional spending. Make purchases that improve your life and don't feel guilty about them. Practice the emotional experience of watching your account balance fluctuate without treating it as a moral referendum on your worth. Because if you don't build that muscle now, you will absolutely be the person at 72 sitting on $1 million and hand washing dishes because you can't emotionally process buying a dishwasher. The system is designed to keep you in accumulation mode forever because that's where the fees are. Breaking out of that system requires conscious effort and deliberate psychological reprogramming. And the time to start is now, not the day you retire. Don't work for money, own the companies that do, but then actually use the money those companies generate because that was the whole point.